Hello everyone and welcome to another video with me, 320 Sim Pilot, and today we are going to be taking a look at another new feature of the FlyByWire A32NX mod, and that is the updated cockpit textures. At the time of making this video they are in the development version only, however I believe they are coming to the other versions very soon. So today we're going to take a look at what the difference is, and also I'll have a discussion about what sort of textures we experience in the flight deck of the A320. Here you can see your first look at the brand new ones, and as you can see it just looks absolutely stunning. So let's take a closer look and get started. I want to start off by looking at some of the original or old textures that came with the default A320 in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now I know some parts of this, including the screens for example, have been updated by the FlyByWire team, but here we are, here's some footage of the original textures that you get out of the box. Now I have to admit I've never been too upset about these textures. I think they've been pretty good. There's some nice texturing on the seats in particular. I've always been very pleased with how they look, especially in sort of low light situations when you can really see the coarse texture of the material used on the seats. Very rugged, of course. Same for the control panels, although there is an issue where sometimes it does look a bit grainy. It's also very pale blue, which is, you know, it does depend on the lighting on the day and so on, and aircraft are sometimes sort of repainted over the years, so they don't all look exactly the same, although obviously a Neo should be quite new. But here we go, here's some old textures, and you guys can make up your minds as to what you think of these. But I've never had a massive problem with them, as I say. I think they've done a good job representing the Airbus in the right sort of textures. Sometimes it lacks a bit of wear and tear, or that lived-in feel. That would be one thing I would say. It does feel very pristine, although I know that is a big issue in the flight simulator world as to whether people prefer to have it with that sort of lived-in look, or the brand new out the factory style that we're sort of getting here. Obviously we're here in Gibraltar on the runway, and the cat has arrived, of course, just in time for the video. But there we go, and there's the side stick that we got in the original one. Now there are some issues here, and I think the FlyByWire team have done a great job updating things, particularly with the side stick, and I'll talk about why I think that is. So to start with, we can see the texture has changed, a much darker colour now and much more representative of the real side stick. The real side stick is a slightly glossy dark black plastic, and this looks far better than the original one, which was far too pastel-y and sort of matte effect. So that is a really nice addition by the FlyByWire team, and an instant thumbs up from me for the new design on the side stick. Looking around the cockpit, we can see a bit more contrast there seems to be, and you'll notice more variety in texturing. That seems to be the big difference. So some materials look more glossy, some are more matte, some have got a bit more ruggedness to them, which I really like to see. So let's talk about some of those as we go through. The Airbus flight deck is mostly made up of hard plastic. That's what you'll experience when you're flying it. The armrests are hard plastic. All those screens in front of you there are surrounded by very thin, light but hard plastic. Over there below the side stick is one of the few soft places, so that sort of darker blue area with the texturing to it, so it's got a sort of crisscross pattern on it. That is slightly softer, as is up on top of the glare shield, which we'll see later. The overhead panel, again, all hard plastic, and here's the old textures that you can see that we had before, and then we can go straight into a shot of the new one, and again you can make up your mind what you think of that. The slightly green texturing color you get there, the green color, it seems to just be a thing where on the ground it seems to reflect more green than you'd otherwise expect on the overhead panel. Once I was in flights that turned more blue again, so I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. Going back to the old one, you can start to instantly feel that difference, so that sort of overly blue sort of cockpit that shines through is starting to feel a bit new, and the more time you sit in these new textures, the harder it is actually to go back to the original ones, I must admit. So from now on, we'll just look at the newer textures. So as I was saying, these are all hard, but on top of the glare shield there, so just above the autopilot controls and the FCU, that is slightly softer and squidgy. Still pretty rugged, but yeah, you can definitely get that sense when you see the textures on it now. As we come down, you'll notice the screens have their new textures as well by the FlyByWire team to give that nice reflection. Those thrust levers look far better now as well. They're that glossy black plastic that you'd expect them to be, and they look absolutely glorious. Really, really nice improvement on those, just like the side stick. And here's a view of the seats, which I always thought, to be honest, were done pretty well, even in the default aircraft. If you look at the pen holder, which is that little hole there in the left of the screen, you can see some pen lines coming away from it, which is a great little detail. This isn't sort of strong wear and tear, but it's stuff that would happen to the airplane almost as soon as it's made, because that pen holder would be used, although it does have a habit of not being that useful. There are some springs in there to hold the pens in place that do break off quite easily. But generally there's more of a lived-in feel, but not too extreme. I think it's a nice balance. The iPad having those greasy fingerprints on it is perfect. That is obviously what we spend a lot of time, especially when you're up above the clouds. You're going to have to try and wipe those off to get a nice view. Here's some more nice lived-in detailing around the pedals. Obviously, these take a lot of abuse from people kicking and moving their feet around, so the scrapes and paint missing is really nice, especially on the side of those rudder pedal edges as well. The middle parts are rubber, actually, those lines you see on the pedals, so you can't slide your feet up and down. In most airliners and aircraft you can, they're usually metal that can do that, but not in the Airbus. It's rubber, so your feet have to be up on the pedals for takeoff and landing. You can't slide them once you're moving. Looking around then, we start to get these texture changes on the main panel. So you've got the different varieties of plastics used. If you look at the thrust levers, as we said, black glossy plastic, then you can see the trim wheel is slightly more matte, which is pretty accurate. The real aeroplane, that one isn't glossy, so it's nice that there is a clear difference between those two things. Again, just all these little details really start to add up the more time you spend in the cockpit of this aeroplane. Here's the flap lever, fairly similar feel to the side stick, I think, but you can see a nice bit of texture from where it's been used, and people's rings on their fingers and so on may have scratched it over time. And there we go, the center pedestal, all looking absolutely glorious. Loads of different sort of textures shown, and you can see some marks on the plastic around the brake pressure and next to the gear lever up there, especially highlighted when you use the nighttime lighting. Really shows it off. Just amazing quality that we're now seeing here, and it's hard to believe this is a freeware mod for the default A320 at this point. It looks absolutely stunning, and I must say, having these downlights really shows it off nicely. So yeah, it's just a really great addition, and I'm sure you're all going to have a great time when you have these in your version. So that's all for today's video, just a quick look at these new textures. Thank you again to the FlyByWire team who have done such an amazing job upgrading this Airbus over time, and the work continues. This is absolutely brilliant. These new textures are really nice. As I said, they are coming soon to the development and the custom FlyByWire version. They won't be in the mainline version just yet, or by that I mean the stable build that will come in the future. Thank you very much for watching, and there'll be plenty more videos on the channel as we follow the progress, as well as more live streams and tutorials coming out soon. So do please subscribe if you'd like to see more of that content. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Keep safe. Bye bye.